guys, today we're going to be looking back on every single thing I bought at Sephora and Ulta last year, and we're going to judge my decisions. Did I make good purchasing decisions last year, or did I make some questionable ones? Let's start with Sephora because I only bought a handful of things from Sephora last year, only one online order, and it was during the spring sale. And I bought just a couple things during the sale. One of them was the LYS Triple Fix Pressed Powder, and happy to say that is no longer in my collection because I used it up. That powder didn't end up being a favorite for me, but I liked it enough to use it up. The other makeup product from that order I do still have. It's the Fenty Sunstalker Bronzer in the shade Into Sun. I love this bronzer. This quickly became one of my all-time favorites. This was definitely a good decision, one of my favorite purchases of last year, I would say. And the third thing I bought in that order was the Ordinary Multi-Peptide Lash and Brow Serum. Another great choice. I've now gone through two of these. I will definitely repurchase. Right now I'm using the one from Makeup Revolution that I think works just as well as the Ordinary one, but that one does sometimes burn my eyes, so I won't go back to that one once I finish it. Definitely will be going back to the Ordinary one though. I feel like it makes a huge difference in just the overall health of my lashes. I don't really use it in my brows just because I don't feel like I need a brow serum. So I only use it in my lashes, but I do feel like it really helps just keep my lashes healthy. It keeps them from falling out as easily, and so they are able to grow long and strong. So it's not one of those lash serums that's going to actually make your lashes grow, but it will just kind of keep your lashes healthy, and that does make them longer and thicker in the long run. So love that product, and I love that it's only like $15. So overall, that was a really good Sephora order. There was also a sample in that order of the 7 Virtues Vanilla Woods perfume, and I have yet to use this. I developed a fragrance allergy last year, so I've been holding on to all my perfumes in hopes that that allergy goes away. And I actually do think recently my sensitivity to perfumes has lessened quite a bit. Lately I've been trying to slowly reintroduce perfumes just to see, because allergies can go away according to my doctor. So I've been just kind of crossing my fingers that my fragrance allergy would go away. And over the past couple of weeks, like very recently, I've started spraying perfume just on my shins, like on my pants. And I haven't had any issues with that. Like it hasn't been making me cough or anything. So I'm not gonna go crazy and wear perfume like every single day, but I'm kind of just slowly getting back into it. So that was my only online Sephora order last year. I would say overall that was a really great order. No real regrets. Okay, the sun decided to come out. I hope I'm not too backlit, but my one and only in-store Sephora purchase last year was the Mini Rare Beauty Liquid Blush in the shade Hope. And this is another purchase I was very happy with. I love this blush. I definitely think the e.l.f. Camo Liquid Blush is a really good drugstore alternative if you're looking for one, but I also really love this one. I think the packaging is so cute. I love the mini size, and this color is gorgeous. This is like my perfect everyday blush shade. Just a rosy pinky nude, just so pretty. I love that it has a little bit of glow to it. No regrets there with that purchase. So all of my Sephora purchases, only 3 of which were makeup last year, I would say were good decisions. Okay, I closed the curtain a little bit because the sun was coming in a little bit too strong. So moving on to Ulta now, I did have a few more Ulta orders than Sephora in 2023. The first one was in March. I bought a handful of items, 2 of them were makeup, and I have both of them still. The first one was the e.l.f. Halo Glow Liquid Filter in the shade Fair 1. I still have this, still use it. This ended up being such a great alternative to the Charlotte Tilbury version. I love it because it is kind of like a multitude of products in one. It's a glowy primer, it's a base product, it's a liquid highlighter, it's a great mixer. My favorite way to use it is as a mixer with other complexion products, and I love it because just like the Charlotte Tilbury one, it actually has some light coverage to it, and that's such a great feature to me because when you mix this with other complexion products, it's not going to dilute the coverage nearly as much as just your everyday, you know, liquid illuminator would. That was a good decision as well. And then the other makeup product I bought in this order was the Tarte Maracuja Juicy Lip Plump in White Peach. I still have this as well, and I love this product. I wouldn't say I use it all the time. I guess I've just been focusing on other lip glosses, but this is a beautiful product. I love the shade of this. I'll go ahead and swatch it. White Peach is a great name for it because it is kind of like a milky, soft peach color. Love this. It's like slightly lighter than the natural color of my lips, and I love that kind of color in a gloss because it just kind of like smooths out the look of your lips. Really beautiful. It is a little bit plumping as well. The only thing with these Tarte Maracuja Juicy lips, both the plump and the regular version, is they can get really gloopy. I try to only click it up like 1 or 2 times per application. Otherwise, you're gonna get way too much, and once it comes in contact with your lips, it melts onto them like a gloss. You really only need a small, thin layer of this. Otherwise, it can get really, really stringy and gloopy. So if you're not into that kind of lip product, I wouldn't recommend this. But I really enjoy it, even though I am kind of picky about stringy, gloopy glosses. But for me, as long as I apply only a small amount, I think it's beautiful. I love the look of it on my lips. So yeah, this has made me want to use this more. I should probably put this in my everyday makeup drawer soon. Then the other two things from this order were non-makeup. One was the Tree Hut Tropic Glow Body Wash. Already used that one up. I thought it was just okay. I like Tree Hut's body scrubs and shave oils the best. Their body washes to me are a little bit underwhelming. I just feel like the scent isn't quite as yummy as in the body scrubs. And the other non-makeup thing from this order was the Conair 1-inch straightener. And I still use that straightener all the time. In fact, I used it to style this hair. This is like day 2 hair, but I like using it to curl my hair. I like using it to put like waves in my hair. I like using it to actually straighten my hair. It's a good just workhorse straightener, and it heats up really fast, like in under a minute. So great for saving time as well. So also happy with everything I bought in that order. I would say so far last year, I did a pretty good job, but let's keep going. So my next Ulta order was a few months later in August of 2023, and this was a pretty big order, so buckle in because I think this is going to be a pretty juicy one. The first thing I bought in this order was the CoverGirl Clean Fresh Yummy Gloss in the shade You're Just Jelly. I obviously still have this. I still use it. It didn't end up being my favorite just because I do find this formula to be a little bit stringy. I did feel like this was a bit overhyped for really just a regular gloss. Like there's nothing special about this other than it does have a really fun scent. So I feel like that's really the biggest selling point of these glosses is the yummy flavors that they come in, hence the name Yummy Gloss. So overall, you know, happy that I got to try it, and I've already used, I mean, you can't tell right now, but I've already used a pretty good chunk of this, so eventually I will use it up, I'm sure. The next thing I bought in this order was the Essence Pure Nude Baked Blush in the shade Shimmery Rose. I can never remember the shade of this for some reason, but this ended up being a total favorite. I love this, and I'm kind of picky about my glowy blushes. I don't like when they end up just looking like a highlighter that's too dark on your face, you know? But that is not the case with this one at all. It is like just the perfect, really soft pink color. It's like impossible to mess up. And I would even say I like this a little bit better than the Milani baked blushes. It's just a little bit softer for a baked product. It is so, so soft. So really glad I bought that. This order apparently was also when I repurchased my CoverGirl Clean Fresh Pressed Powder. This is the second one of these that I've had, and I am almost finished with this one. You can see I'm gonna need to repress this soon. Love this powder, one of my all-time favorites. I will probably repurchase it again when I use this one up. I bought 2 setting sprays in this order. One of them is now in a different bottle, but this is the Flower Beauty Seal the Deal Hydrating Setting Spray. I do still have it. I still have a lot of it left, actually. I did decant it into a Makeup Revolution bottle because the sprayer on the flower bottle was just really weird. The spray would almost be delayed, and it would just put these really big droplets on my face that would then mess up the makeup underneath. But now that it's in this bottle, I love it. I think it's a great setting spray. It's hydrating, it gives a little bit of a glow, but it also does have alcohol in it, so it does help to just kind of lock your makeup into place as well. Kind of reminds me a little bit of the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Setting Spray, except that that one does not contain alcohol, so that one's a little better in my opinion, but I still like this one, and I eventually will use it up, I'm sure. And the second setting spray in this order, I actually ended up decluttering earlier this year. It was the Makeup Revolution Calming Fixing Spray. Perfectly good setting spray. I just decluttered it because I had way too many setting sprays in my collection, and I felt like they all kind of did the same thing. That one, very similar to the flower one I just talked about. It's another just nice long wear setting spray that gives a little bit of a glow, and I just already had too many of that type of setting spray, so I got rid of it, although that is a really great option as well. I really love those Makeup Revolution setting sprays that are in that bottle. Another thing from this Ulta order that I no longer have is the Milani Highly Rated Anti-Gravity Mascara. This was actually the second tube of this that I bought, and it was unfortunately the last tube of it that I will buy. I loved this mascara the first time I had it, but the second tube I had for some reason was a major flaker. It would flake. Even like the first time I used it, it flaked. So won't be buying that one again. It is a beautiful mascara if you like really long, voluminous, dramatic lashes. I do think it's great, but unfortunately not for me. I wish they would come out with a tubing version of that mascara. That would be amazing. I would definitely buy that immediately. This was also apparently when I bought the e.l.f. Halo Glow Powder Puff. Mine is very dirty right now. I need to wash it. I really like this powder puff, and just powder puffs in general. I would say I like the Makeup Revolution one a little bit more because that one has a little bit of a smoother material. This is kind of like a terry cloth material, you can see, so it's not like super velvety. Whereas the Makeup Revolution one I have, this one came in last year's Makeup Revolution advent calendar. I think it's usually like a hot pink color, but I'm pretty sure it's the same material. This has a nice, really soft velour material that I just prefer a little bit more than the e.l.f. one, but I still like the e.l.f. one too. Speaking of e.l.f. in this order, another thing I repurchased was the e.l.f. Halo Glow setting powder in the shade Light. I used up this exact powder before and repurchased it. Love this setting powder. I also now have the pink version, which I would say I use even more often than the light shade as an under eye setting powder. I just love that really soft pink tint that this has. It works wonders for the under eyes, but I still use the light shade as well. This one's good for an all over face setting powder. Another thing I'm happy to have back in my collection. Another thing I no longer have from this order is the Makeup Revolution Under Eye Brightening Corrector. That's another thing that I decluttered earlier this year. It just wasn't my kind of under eye corrector. Very glowy, very emollient. It's the kind of glowy, luminous under eye corrector that's going to shine through even the most mattifying of powders. And I really just prefer something more matte and blurring to the under eyes. It is definitely very effective at brightening your under eyes if that's what you're after. I just prefer something a little bit more matte and blurring like the NYX Pro Fix Stick, so this didn't end up being the product for me, but I do think it's a great product if you like something very glowy. It's a great bang for your buck. You get a ton of product for like $8. So not that I wouldn't recommend it, it just wasn't really the right thing for me. I also got as a gift with purchase in this order the Makeup Revolution Super Dewy Liquid Blush in the shade You Got Me Blushing. Another thing that I ended up decluttering. First of all, this was not dewy at all. It was a very matte liquid blush. Really my biggest issue with this was that it was just way too dark and pigmented for me. This is a very little goes a long way type of product. The color was also really similar to some other cream blush formulas that I have that I find much easier to work with, so it didn't end up fitting into my collection, but luckily I only got it as a gift with purchase. And the last thing I bought in this order was a hair product. It was the Not Your Mother's Curl Talk Curl Defining Cream. I got the travel size of this and I ended up using it up last year. When my hair was longer last year, I went through a phase where I was scrunching my hair with curl products, curl creams, mousses, those kinds of things, to give it more curl and wave, and that was fun. If my hair is ever long again, I will probably go back to doing that. It's a nice kind of heatless hairstyle, and I do remember really liking that curl cream. It's kind of like a crunchy cream, so you might need some kind of like oil to use after it to kind of break apart the curls, but it was definitely effective at making my hair curly. My last Ulta order in 2023 was placed in October. Quite a few things on this list were for a video that I did testing products that you guys recommended to me. So a lot of those things are in this order. The first thing was the ColourPop Pretty Fresh Concealer. I ended up unfortunately picking too light of a shade of this, so I'm not sure if it was just that the shade was too light or if I didn't like the formula, or maybe a combination of both. I just really didn't like the way that this sat on my under eyes. I found it just looked kind of drying, and again, that could have just been because the shade was too light, but I ended up decluttering that, so that was kind of a regret purchase. Also in this order, I purchased the Essence Brighten Up Banana Powder. I still have this, still use it all the time. I'm honestly surprised I haven't hit pan in this yet. I just like to use this as an all-over setting powder. I don't like it on my under eyes. Usually that's what I would think of a banana powder for, but I just find it a little bit almost too bright on my under eyes. But all over the face, it's great. It's also really great at diffusing blush, like blending on top of your blush if it ended up too harsh. So definitely happy with that purchase. Not something I think I would repurchase once I finish it up, but I will definitely use this one up. I also bought 3 palettes in this order, only 2 of which I still have. I did buy both Flower Lights palettes that they launched last year, Garden Lights and Coastal Lights. I did end up decluttering Garden Lights. I think I ended up sending that one to my aunt, who has gotten really into eyeshadow, and so I'm glad that that one went to a good home, but I do still have Coastal Lights. This one is fun and has some kind of softer, more satin finish shades. I mean, they're still very shiny, glowy shades, but they're just not quite as foiled as the original shades in like the Desert and Jungle Lights. I actually am wearing my Desert Lights palette today along with the ColourPop Sweet as Can Be palette, so I have been getting a lot more use out of that palette lately, which feels good to say because I went a long time without using it. Coastal Lights, I hope to use this a lot more in like the springtime because it does have some fun pastel shades in it. Honestly, I don't regret this purchase, but at the same time I could have skipped it, like I'm just not quite as in love with this color story as I am with like Desert Lights and Jungle Lights, the two original ones. And I don't know, I just felt like Coastal and Garden Lights felt a little bit uninspired from Flower, but maybe that's just me. And this was also the same time that I bought the Natasha Denona I Need a Nude palette, which I clearly do still have as well. This was very expensive, so I don't have any plans of getting rid of this. Like I have said before though, this was my first Natasha Denona palette purchase, and I wasn't that impressed. I really like the shimmers in here, but I do feel like the mattes are just not as easy to work with as I would hope for such an expensive palette. I actually think Alter Ego's dupe of this, Daylight, is just as good. The shimmers aren't quite as glimmery. That's like the biggest difference I think that makes this one look a little bit more expensive. But the mattes in the Alter Ego palette are so much smoother and more blendable. And the shimmers, don't get me wrong, the shimmers in the Alter Ego one are beautiful as well. They're just not quite the same as the ones in here. I did compare the two side by side on my eyes in a recent video on dupes and alternatives, so I'll link that for you below if you want to see them in action together. But either way, I'm glad I bought this so that I could finally try a Natasha Denona palette. I definitely plan to keep it because it was so expensive, but at the same time, this was probably my first and only Natasha Denona palette purchase. Next thing from this order was the Ulta Beauty Tinted Juice Infused Lip Oil in the shade Bougie Beige. For some reason, I thought this was a gift with purchase, but I guess it was just a regular purchase according to my order history here. I ended up decluttering this one last summer because the pigment would really settle into my lip lines, and this was a shade that was a little bit lighter than the color of my lips, which I really liked. It was a really pretty shade, kind of like a milky beigey pink. Unfortunately, the pigment would really settle into my lip lines, and because it was lighter than my natural lip color, it was really obvious. And so that just didn't end up being a favorite. I remember really liking the Ulta Clear Juice Infused Lip Oil like a long time ago. They still sell that, and that is a nice product, but the tinted one, not my favorite. Another thing I purchased in this order was the e.l.f. O-Face Satin Lipstick in the shade No Doubt. I'm not even a big fan of bullet lipsticks these days, but I love this one. It's so creamy, really glides right on even though it's a matte finish. This shade is a beautiful fall nude, and it feels just really luxe. I remember saying when this first came out, like, I can't believe e.l.f. is launching a $9 lipstick, and I still feel like that's a lot for an e.l.f. lipstick, but at the same time, this feels high-end. Like, it has a magnetic closure, it's got that soft touch matte black packaging. It looks like NARS. Like, if you turn this around, it looks like a NARS lipstick. I think if you're a fan of bullet lipsticks and you can get a little bit of a discount on this, it's definitely worth the price. Another thing I don't have any more from this order is the Ulta Beauty New Heights Mascara. I was so sad about this one. This was that mascara that had the really small brush, which I loved. Love a small wand, makes it so much easier to control. But this was a huge smudger on me, and yet another reason why I have converted to tubing mascaras only, because I don't have that problem with tubing mascaras. But even though this made my lashes look beautiful, it was very like nice separating, lengthening formula, it just smudged so badly on me that I could hardly even wear it, so that was a bummer. The last makeup thing from this order was the Essence Extreme Lasting Eye Pencil in Silky Nude. So this, as you can see, is just a nice light nude color. This is great for the lower waterline if you just want to brighten that area. This says it's waterproof up to 16 hours. I don't feel like it lasts in my waterline all day long. It doesn't last in the waterline quite as well as the NYX Epic Wear liner sticks, but it does last for at least a couple of hours, I would say, in the waterline. So it is a good color for just brightening up if you have like allergies or something and your eyes are looking kind of red. This helps to kind of conceal that and just open up and brighten the eyes. So this I will keep and use, but it's not like a top favorite. The last thing from this order was another hair product from the Not Your Mother's Curl line. This time I decided to try their mousse, and I don't know if I've used it at all. I got the travel size again just to try it and see if I like it, but I think not long after I placed this order, I got a haircut, like a bob or a lob at that time, and whenever I have my hair short or like above shoulder length, I don't really use mousses. I don't really scrunch it or anything because it just doesn't work as well as when my hair is longer. My hair, when it's short, it doesn't really have a ton of natural wave, and the natural wave it does have just isn't that cute, so I usually end up heat styling it, which is the downside to having short hair. And I'm kind of getting to that point now with having short hair where at first, for the first few months, I was like, I love having short hair, I'm gonna keep it short for, you know, the foreseeable future, but now I'm already getting kind of tired of having short hair. So just because I have to style it so much more than when it's long. So the mousse I didn't really get to try, but hopefully one day I will. So those are all of the items I bought from Sephora and Ulta last year. Of course, this wasn't absolutely everything I bought last year. Like, I'm sure there were some other purchases from like drugstores or Target, things like that, but from Ulta and Sephora, this is everything I bought, and I would say this was a good portion of my makeup purchases last year. And I would say for the most part, I was happy with most of these things. There were a handful of items that I ended up decluttering or just not loving, but that's kind of what ends up happening when you review makeup. There are bound to be things you don't like. But thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and if you would like to support me even further, I do have a Patreon and a channel membership where I upload a bonus video every month. Huge shout out to all of my current patrons and channel members. Thank you so much for your support. I hope you all have an amazing rest of your day, and I'll talk to you very soon. Bye!